He lives. Charles Oliveira is still alive. Not jokes aside. I'm glad to see Charles Oliveira, speaking up since the first. I think it's the first time he spoke up in an interview since getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria, and he said some comments in the video. One of them is like kind of terrifying, the way he was like kind of talking about Ilia Topuria and his power. And then another part of me, I was listening to him speak. We're not really listening because like he was speaking in Portuguese.
Mudaria tudo, né? Na realidade, não em fato de treinamento, mas sim em fato da luta, né? Tudo aquilo que eu treinei, eu não botei em prática. Eu não fiz nada daquilo que eu treinei, tudo aquilo que a gente fez, nada foi feito dentro da luta.
Nobody understands this guy. He doesn't speak English. English is important. If you want to make money, you have to speak some language which everybody understands.
So
nobody understands what he's saying.
You're gonna see in these tweets they're translated, but I don't want to say coping, but it's like, Charles, what are you really talking about? Like, what do you mean? We're going to talk about in this video, like I said, this is really Charles' first reaction ever, like, since that situation, so I feel like it's good to address it. First of all, I want to talk about what's almost scary, which is something I kind of knew and, like, everyone kind of knows, is that, yes, Ilia power translated to 155, but the way, like, Charles described it, and Charles has been in there with Dustin Poirier and the Justin Gaethjes, and yes, they dropped him, but it's obvious that Ilia Topuria is the hardest person to ever touch Charles' chin, and that's what he said. Because no one has put Charles out. I'm going to show you the quote he said. I don't want to, like I said, I could play the videos, guys, but it's going to be in Portuguese. I don't know how much my, subscribers speak Portuguese. I don't, so we're going to read the tweet out. This is what he said about it. He says, Ilias is definitely the hardest hitter I ever faced. Definitely. Not like, yeah, man, Dustin. Nah, Ilia is definitely the hardest hitter I've ever faced. He's the one who hit me the hardest. There's no denying it. I've taken really hard hits from guys like Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and Michael Chandler. That only ended in a knockdown. So even Charles is very aware that, like, listen, I can get hit by some of these hard-hitting 155ers. Hard-hitting. I'm not even trying to come at Dustin and Justin, guys, but I've noticed something about them. They don't really have one-punch knockouts. Like, even with Dustin, people always praise him for his power, guys, but I really feel like Dustin's more of accumulation volume kind of puncher, whereas Ilia's like, I'm going to touch you, then you're going to, like, RIP. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I've never really looked at Gaethje and Dustin like, fucking, yeah, dude, we're going to run through these guys and fucking hit them with brick hands. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not doing that, like, ever. He also said this: I've never been knocked out before. I was kind of surprised to hear that. I've been knocked down by punches, but this time I got knocked out. It was something new for me. I didn't know what had happened. So I'm assuming he woke up, even though he was like talking to Ilia. I always hear these fighter stories of guys about like how people, after they get knocked down in the octagon, they don't remember shit. And then like 20 minutes later or an hour later, they're in the hospital and they're like, what the hell? How am I here? That's what Usman said about the Leon Edwards situation, the head kick. I'm pretty sure Charles felt the same way here because the way he went out, guys. Like, I'm telling you, the Charles we saw hugging Ilia, he don't remember shit about that. He's watching that back like, bro, that happened. So we know Ilia Topuria's power, brother, a little bit terrifying. Ilia hit him so hard. Guys, I still can't get over it. Like, I still have nightmares of the way Charles kind of slumped down after getting hit. And I really want to say that I've seen Ilia sleep people, but for some reason, I know I'm not the only one who notices. Guys, do you guys not realize that his 155 knockouts look a little bit more brutal? Like, yes, Volk slumped down. It was tough. Max got dropped and, like, ground and pounded. Look what he did to Jai Herbert. Look how his body kind of, like, flopped on the ground. Look what he did to Charles Oliveira. I feel as if at 155, Ilia's hitting harder. Like, I swear. At 145, he's a little bit maybe malnourished, taking some nutrients out of his body. But when he's able to just, like, bulk up and just be himself, he's putting these guys to sleep in harder fashion, which is scary that Charles is essentially confirming that fact that Ilia Topuria hits like a Mack truck deluxe, like a Mack truck deluxe beats on him. Like, the way he hit Charles, I'm still not over that. So now we know that Ilia Topuria at 155 is a force to be reckoned with. But also, reading some of the quotes of this interview, guys, I saw something. And it was like, I don't want to say Charles is coping, but it's giving like, what do you really mean by this? I'm going to scroll up to what I'm talking about. He said, I would change everything about my performance in essence. I'm going to read out the whole thing he said, though, because I want you guys to hear this, guys. Listen to this because it's very important. He said, I would change everything about my performance. Everything I trained for, I didn't put into practice. I didn't do anything I trained for. Then he said the game plan was to hit and get out, knee stomp, manage distance with front kicks, a lot of calf kicks, not standing still. As soon as the fight started, I stood still taking shots. First of all, that's not true at all. Like, I don't know. Like, he says, I just wanted to, foot stomp him, keep my distance, teep kick, maintain distance. Charles was doing that, guys. He said, I wanted to shoot some takedowns. Charles was doing that. Charles, first, I don't know if he rewatched the fight. I'm assuming he didn't, but he's trying to act like he just stood in front of him and took his shots. That's not what happened. I'm going to finish reading this so you guys can understand what I fully mean. He also said, I think that if I maintain distance, move my hands, working on my front kicks, working on the stomps, trying to take him down, I think it would have been a completely different fight. Charles, everything you just said in that last sentence, you did in the fight. If Charles rewatches the fight, he'd be like, wait, I was managing distance pretty decently at the start of the fight. I was moving my hands. I was foot stomping him. I was low kicking him. I was trying to take him down. You know what happened, guys? In my opinion, I think Charles, while he was doing all of this, he when he first attempted his takedown, I feel like that's when shit like went left for him. Because I feel like he was doing good with the foot stomps. He was doing good with all these other things. He was doing fine with that. I think what changed it was when he attempted a takedown, he wasn't expecting Ilia Topuria to defend it so well and like put him in a bad position. And after that happened, I feel like it caused Charles Oliveira to panic, because you could see that Charles was fighting pretty smart with the oblique kicks, the low kicks, the moving his feet well, the shots from distance, maintaining distance, and shooting at the takedown. Charles did all those stuff well. I think what changed the game for Charles is that he attempts the takedown, gets reversed by Ilia. Like Ilia's transitioning through guards like him. He's like, oh shit, this is like supposed to be the difference maker. Me in the clinch, like I couldn't hold him in the clinch. Like I couldn't, when I took him down, like he was reversing me. What's going on? Like now I'm panicking and I don't know what to do, because I thought I had this significant strength advantage in the clinch. I thought I had this significant advantage on the ground because he's too small. He's coming up in weight, but he's strong. He's too hard to take down. And now when he's on the ground, he's fucking moving through guards like butter, like Swiss cheese, brother. Like Swiss cheese? He was moving through his guard like cheese, man. I felt bad for Charles. But after that, look at what happens when Charles gets up. You don't see any more oblique kicks. You don't see any more managing distance. You don't see none of that. What you see is Charles almost panicked, like, yo, and going back to how he always fights, which is like kind of like walking forward and kind of throwing. I think that's what he meant to say, but like I just stood there taking shots. You didn't just stand there taking shots at first. You panicked because your best weapon wasn't working out for you. So then you're like, okay, so let me just try to just be me. Let me try to go back to what I did. And I do believe that they game planned to keep distance to a sense. For some reason, I have a very hard time thinking Charles changed his game plan, because Charles fights the same every fight, guys. You can't find a fight where Charles doesn't really come out aggressive. You know, this fight, he was still the same aggressive person, but he was more so aggressive after failing the takedown and feeling how good Ilia was on the ground. In contrast, his other fights, he's kind of always like that. Even against Islam, like he didn't like he was still aggressive, not respecting Islam, and then he got caught with a punch and finished. You know, you would think you would have to adjust and change your like a fight style depending on the opposition. I think he tried to do it with Ilia, so I'm going to give him credit for the first couple minutes of the fight, you know, maybe seconds. But once he realized that the clinch advantage is not to my liking and the grappling advantage is not what I thought it was, that's when he starts to panic. Like I said, rewatch the fight. You guys are going to understand what I'm saying. So I do think, I hate to say this, but I think this is kind of like a cope session for Charles Oliveira. I feel as if he's trying to convince people that if I fought him again and I had a better game plan, Charles, I'm sorry. Don't fight him again. Charles, don't do it, Charles, please. Charles cannot fight this guy again. It's going to end worse, probably. You know, even in the fight week chat, it was weird because I remember Charles, like, he thinks he's ready for me. People always say they're going to do this when he feels my pressure, when he feels my blah, blah, he's going to break. But now you're saying that your game plan wasn't even to pressure. I just don't know. It just seems like a pretty bad cope session for Charles Oliveira. And I know Charles fans are going to click on this video like, fuck you, Kenny. This is not true. Charles was not oblique kicking and trying to take him down. That never happened. Because you guys are going to be mad that I'm not even trying to make Charles look like a coper right now. I'm just saying he is coping with the loss, which is fine. I feel like fighters should do this. But it's a little bit weird because I'm like, did Charles rewatch his fight? Because what do you mean you weren't throwing calf kicks and front kicks and obliques and stomping on his knee and doing that and trying to take him down? You did try to take him down. You did stomp on his knee. You weren't maintaining distance initially until you figured out that your best weapon wasn't working against someone like Ilia Topuria. So I really don't like that for Charles as far as like the cope session is concerned. That being said, I was going to say it was a good performance. I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie. It wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a bad performance. I think it was more so just, brother, it's Ilia Topuria, brother. I'm the best. Trust me. I'm the best. That's really what it was. And I feel for Charles, but I think he should just kind of just accept the loss that, like, listen, this guy's really good. You know, you already complimented his power. You said this guy's the hardest guy to ever hit me. Like, you know, he was saying, I've never been hit as hard as someone like Ilia Topuria. That's cool. I respect that. So why not just be like, I think he's just that good. I know it's stupid to say I don't think I could beat the guy, but just be like, he's really good and he's going to be a problem for any other 155ers. That's what Adesanya said after he beat Pereira. Hey, darling, I'm just saying, brother, real. This is real talk. You get me, brother. Not trying to upset anyone, but this is what's happened. But yeah, outside of coping from the Ilia loss, I think he's still gonna fight. Cause I remember this. I remember thinking to myself, like, what's Charles gonna do next? Before the fight, I kept thinking that. Cause in my head, I was like, he's gonna get knocked out by Ilia. But what's Charles gonna do next? Charles is not retiring, and he actually wants to fight the winner of this fight. He says about it. I think he's kind of targeting Max Holloway, but this is what was said. He wants to return later this year, November or December. He names Max Holloway as someone he's interested to fight. He said, Max Holloway fighting in July. I fought in June. I think November would be a good time. It will be a great fight. He said it would be a good fight too, so why not? And honestly, win or lose, because it's Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, I would not mind seeing Max Holloway Charles because the first fight was a little bit stupid. I don't want to say stupid. It was more like quitter Charles. It was Charles in his quitter era, you know. This is different Charles, a little bit more strong, maybe handsome, maybe blonde hair, you know, brother. So I think I'm okay with this fight. Honestly speaking, I would have to see Max Holloway perform against Dustin Poirier, but I do have a gut feeling that Max probably beats Charles. I don't know why. I just have one. But like I said, time will tell. We will see. We did see Ilia Topuria take down Max actually, but Max just gets up. Max is pretty good at defensive grappling. You don't usually see Max Holloway, especially recently, get like mauled or controlled on the ground by even great grapplers. Charles is a great grappler. His offensive wrestling a little bit, you know. But I'm not mad at this fight. I'm not mad at this call out. This actually makes sense to me, and I'm excited to see this one. It just comes down to, is Charles still in it after getting knocked out like that? Because I know you just fought in June and you're looking to return in November, but look at the way you got like. Do fighters not feel different when they get... Like, I haven't been knocked out, but I just feel as if maybe, brother, relax a little bit, maybe take time off. But maybe he's banking on Dustin Poirier and Max to go to war and Max to be a little bit... Bro, CTE is a real thing, guys. Like, sometimes I hear Max Holloway talking, I'm like, fuck, dude. Max is just fucking... He's just... I don't know. But we'll have to see how Max Dustin turns out because even though Charles' fight was quick, I feel like getting knocked out like that could change you. You know, like I remember Usman after getting knocked out by Leon, he was very hesitant in that third fight because he returned a couple months after. You know, maybe Charles is returning too early trying to fight again this year. But listen, if he wants to take like 3-4 months and then to come back, sure, go for it, man. But doing it against Max might not be good, especially that Max showed us crazy power at 155 against Justin Gaethje. That being said, brother, we'll see how this fight goes. I'm not opposed to it. I don't hate the fight. I think it'll be a good fight for Charles. I just don't know if he's coming back too early. But we're going to have to see what Charles' game plan is, guys, after that knockout. I do think he could have took the Ilia loss better as far as just like not really coping that way, but he did give Ilia his props. He did give Ilia his flowers, saying he hits him the hardest. He's never been touched like that in his life. Pause. And I do like the roadmap Charles is laying out. If I'm Charles, I probably would have retired. I don't know. Like, I probably would have thought about it at least. Because, like, what is he's not really fighting for a title at this point, you know? So what... I mean, I guess some fighters don't care about the belt, but like if you're fighting for legacy, maybe he's trying to avenge this loss. I respect this. So this makes the most sense for him. I think there's no other option for Max Holloway. And I'm sure Max Holloway is not going to be chomping at the bit to fight Ilia Topuria if he beats Dustin Poirier. I think he'd rather have a filler fight in between. But let me know what you guys think down below about this Charles situation. That's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3.